Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wrong. Thank you friends for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story, seller was held accountable to ensure they sold a home that was safe to live in. The second story, boss didn't want to give me a raise, so I left and my whole team also left. The third story, a-hole parked his car in my spaces. I towed his car. And the first story is, home flipper gets what's coming. Inventory of homes for sale throughout the region are historically low, and demand is especially high, creating a perfect storm for buyers, forcing them to compete for every sale. It is extremely difficult emotionally for buyers, and creates a lot more work for us as agents for several reasons. The first is, the home values are so high, people from all walks of life decide to become licensed agents, and currently we have more agents in our market than homes sold. That means we have a lot of inexperienced agents listing homes at prices that don't make sense, so we have to do a ton of work for each offer written to ensure our clients don't overpay for a property. Also knowing that the likelihood of that offer to be accepted is super low, when there will be 5, 10, sometimes as many as 20 offers on any one home. Also, with having to compete against a ton of other buyers, buyers are offering to purchase homes with little to no negotiations for inspections, let alone repairs. This puts an even higher burden on us agents to try and look at homes as critically as possible to try to catch costly repairs before our clients commit to purchasing. I woke up one morning with a text from a buyer expressing interest in a home that just popped up for sale. After looking at the details, I realized the home was perfect for the two of them. The listing pics were of a home that was nicely remodeled in the area of town they wanted to live, and at a price that was right in line with their budget. The private notes from the seller's agent to the buyer's agents on the listing said the seller would review offers 4 days in the future and to submit your highest and best offer by 5 p.m. on the deadline date. I reached out to the listing agent to chat about the home and to schedule a showing. The agent was new. This was their first listing, and they also worked mainly in a city 40 miles away. The listing advertised a full remodel and incredibly low property taxes. Those are red flags 1 and 2 for non-permitted work. After scheduling the showing for the following day, when my clients were off work, I set to work determining a fair price per square foot and to verify the permit status of the recently finished remodel. First, I determined the home was underpriced by about $100K. Any offer we would be making would have to be at a minimum $100K above what they were listing at. There are no deals in our market. An underpriced home will just get a ton more offers. No one is paying list price for an underpriced home. Second, I compared the home to the tax records and the listing pics from the last time it was sold. The seller was an investor that owned the home for less than a year. Well, wouldn't you know it, the home went from 1,300 SF 2-bedroom 1-bathroom to 1,800 SF 3-bedroom 2-bathroom home, with no permits on file from the city. This was an illegal flip. No permits pulled. No guarantees the work was done by professionals. No inspections to ensure the wiring was safe or the plumbing wasn't leaking. And no records with the taxing authority. This means that once the home sold to the new owners, the city could fine them every day for non-permitted work until the work was inspected, retroactively permitted, if even possible, and the county could sue the new owners for up to 6 years back taxes for omitted property. This means that the buyer wouldn't have the state-mandated warranty from a licensed contractor. There was no bonding or insurance to collect if the work wasn't done in a professional manner. This could ruin a buyer if they weren't sufficiently capitalized. The flipper would profit, and profit mightily, by taking advantage of a seller's market and unsuspecting buyers. While I was doing my due diligence, I was shocked to see the home went sale pending less than 2 hours after I first spoke to the listing agent. They didn't tell me an offer was received when I asked, and they ignored the offer deadline that they themselves set. The agent said the sellers received an offer they couldn't refuse. I then had to tell my rightfully frustrated clients that we missed the boat. They didn't even get a chance to see it in person. The petty revenge. I collected all the information the listing agent provided, including the photos of the home, saved them as a PDF and submitted them to our city's code enforcement department. Then I set the home on a watch list and waited to see what would happen. And waited, knowing full well I pulled the pin on a grenade and hoping it was thrown in time to blow up before ownership was transferred. 10 days, 20 days go by and I hear nothing. By the 25th day, I'm starting to worry. A sale contract typically only takes 30 days to finish. Then literally on the 30th day, I see the city has officially launched an investigation and a certified letter went out to the owners. And the sale hadn't finished yet, just in time. Then the sale doesn't close. 35 days, 40 days, and nothing. On the 50th day, the deed is recorded and the sale finishes. The deed contained all the usual language, except that the previous owner was made responsible to pay for all fees, penalties, and fines issued by the city and the county for ongoing issues relating to the non-permitted work and the subsequent tax increases they would have had to pay had they gotten permits in the first place. The buyer received the home with assurances that they wouldn't be on the hook for the previous owner's negligence. For me, it was sweet revenge knowing that the seller was held accountable to ensure they sold a home that was safe to live in. The second story is, boss denies deserved raise, so I make him regret it. September of 2019 is when I am laid off by a former boss, who was ousting people in order to hire her friends, and start an embezzling scheme as I later found out. At the time, I did not really need the second income, as my wife has a great job, and we took the opportunity to do some home renovations. Well, in March 2020, I had the foresight to know that the COVID issue was going to come soon, so I landed a role as a controller for a modest property management company here in East Cleveland. It was a lower paying controller role, but I knew this was the next step in my career, and it would benefit me in the long run to have controller on my resume. So I took the gig. Fast forward to June of 2021, when we found out we were expecting our first child. I knew I needed to request a raise, so I took multiple weeks to do market research on my role, experience, and company size. I even reached out to some recruiters I was connected with to confirm the salary range I should request, to be in line with market standards. I won't give you exact dollar figures, but I requested a raise of $20,000 in order to get me up to the 10th percentile of market standards with all relevant factors. I didn't even ask for the average salary, just the 10th percentile. I did all this 1 week prior to my late one-year review. Boss, also the owner, said he was disappointed in my letter requesting such a large increase and how sudden it was. I stood my ground and said the raise was modest when compared to the market here in Cleveland. I was told my raise was not in the budget. Mind you that as the controller, I create the D budgets. I know good and well where our financials stand, and I knew my raise would be a drop in the bucket. But my boss is greedy, and our turnover was way too high because of this. But I digress. He reluctantly gives me a raise that was pathetic, and not anywhere near the $20,000 requested. He gives me a dollar figure that the accounting department must stay under, and says that it's my job to adhere to this. This is important later. At the time, I did not have another option, so I shut my mouth and planned my revenge. 2 weeks later, my AP person quit due to not getting a raise. No surprise there. Boss brings in his wife to work 20 hours a week until we fill the role. His wife is perfectly capable and quite smart, so I appreciated her offering to help. What I did not appreciate was seeing what he paid her on the next payroll. She was being paid 25% more than what I was being paid, and she only worked 20 hours compared to my 50. And when compared to the prior AP person, she was being paid 70% more. This fueled my fire even more. We find a new AP person in September, but my boss keeps his wife on payroll as a consultant and continues to pay her 125% of my salary to literally do nothing. My internal fire is now white hot. It's now February of 2022, and I've just received an offer letter from a large manufacturing company that pays great, has great benefits, and allows me to work a ton from home. I draft a letter to my boss for my resignation, fueled by his instructions about staying within the defined budget for the accounting department. I'm cutting a salary to meet that figure, my salary. I gave 2 weeks notice, because it wouldn't look good to my new employer if I just quit. I made sure that month-end closing was started but not finished, made sure that my last day was 1 day prior to figuring payroll, and that all my intellectual property that helped with reporting and SOPs was deleted. We were also wrapping up 2021 year-end with our CPA, but I didn't really feel like working my butt off to finish that. He did not speak to me the last 2 weeks. It's now late April and I learned this morning that everyone under me has quit because they did not want to work for him after seeing how he dealt with me. He talks the talk about treating people fair and justly, but it's D time someone shows him that he doesn't walk the walk. The last story is the battle of the parking spots. So I live in a very large apartment complex. I believe there are around 900 apartments. The majority of parking spots are first come first serve. If you work odd hours or get home late, you'll have to park near the mailboxes and walk to your apartment, and it can be a pretty long walk, half a mile. When you sign the lease, you get the option to pay extra and get an assigned parking spot. 1-bedroom apartments can have 2 paid spots, and 2-bedroom apartments can have up to 4. When I moved in, we paid for 2 spots, as I work a split shift, so half the week I'm not home until midnight, and half the week I get home around 6:30. There are signs in front of each spot, saying if you're not paying for said spot, you will be towed. The spots are also numbered if it matters. We had no issues for almost 3 years, but during COVID I got a promotion in a company car. My roommate changed jobs also, and they gave her a company car, as her job has her driving to nearby states. As luck would have it, 2 spots directly next to the ones we already own came open, so we purchased them. So when you get a paid spot, you have to provide proof of license registration and your plates. If anyone else parks in your spot, you have to call and okay it. The maintenance staff are known to check cars randomly, and the cop who lives on site likes to tag cars for towing. The residents have to call a dedicated number and leave the information, and the apartments call the tow truck. So we have 4 spots and 4 cars. My roommate was going out of town and decided to get her personal vehicle worked on. So when she left town, it meant 2 of our spots sat empty. Then someone tried to steal my car, so I had to take it into the shop. So my work vehicle is a very large SUV, so when we have spaces open, I park parallel in 2 of the spots since we pay for them. I came home from work, parked my SUV parallel, and went to bed. I woke up, walked the dog, and noticed someone had stuck a sticker saying to stop blocking 2 spots, and there was a random car parked in the 4th spot. I personally don't mind if people accidentally park in our spots, and I leave a note explaining the spot they're in is reserved, along with the spot numbers 7, 8, and 9. Please do not park there again. We went to work and car was gone. Came home and the same car was in spot 7. I parked next to them and once again explained that the spot is reserved, and next time I'll ask the apartment to tow them. Again went to work and came home, and the same car were parked parallel in spots 8 and 9. So the way the spots are set up, every 4 spots has a concrete curb with grass on it. The way he parked, his rear bumper was touching the concrete curb. I parked in my spot, but as close to his car as I could. I don't use my passenger side door, so I don't need access to it. I was off the next day and was supposed to get my daily driver out of the shop. I get up around lunch and check outside and the car is still blocked. I once again tell them not to park in my spots. I move my car over 1 spot so they can get out and get a ride to get my car. I go do some errands, get food, go see a movie, etc. I get home around 11 p.m. The car is still parked in my spot. The letter I wrote was shredded and on the ground, and on my work car was a letter telling me off, as I do not deserve the spots. So my revenge. I parked my personal car where my work car was, right next to his, and put an old trail camera on the pole near the spot. I had another 4 days until my roommate was home, so for the next 3 days I didn't move my car. On day 3, apparently they tried to call a tow truck to move my car. The tow truck pulled up, looked at the spots, and left. On day 4, I called the apartments and had him towed. I hope he didn't need his car for 3 days. The car hasn't been in my spot since. A few edits. The trail camera was in case the person damaged my cars in rage or being stupid. I'm horrible at spelling and typing via mobile while at work doesn't help. The person who parked in my spot was driving a newer Honda, so it was not overly expensive, but definitely newer than my car. My work SUV is a 2022. Another edit explaining how parking is since I have 4 cars. The apartments are a series of giant U inlets, with free parking along the inside of the U, and paid spots along the walls. So paid spots aren't bordering or taking front spots from those who can't pay. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.